Welcome to the Built After Hours podcast, where we talk with the bold entrepreneurs who built their service businesses after the world clocked out. Real talk, real risks, real results. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the Built After Hours podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Eaton, and today we've got a guest whose journey is just straight up inspiring. Imagine starting out as a songwriter, chasing your dreams through music, and then making a bold pivot into the world of business, building a commercial cleaning company from the ground up in none other than the city of angels, Los Angeles. Oh yeah, and he made the move all the way from Russia. My guest knows a thing or two about hustle, grinding, and taking a leap when life calls for it. So guys, please welcome my guest, Tim Dotsenko from Smart Clean US. Tim,
What's up, guys?
welcome to the show, Tim. I'm glad we can get you on.
Thanks for having me a lot, man.
Yeah. So you and I, we've worked together, I think, for a little bit over a year now, right?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, back and forth. So I know you. For the listeners, the viewers who don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Cool, amazing. So as you said, I've been a songwriter in Russia, right? I've been doing music all my life. And then at the age of 21, I decided to move here. I've had a small company where we're selling songs. We were making money, but the systems were not there. So me as a CEO kind of failed. So like when I moved here, I decided to that I actually have done a lot of things that I wanted in music, like writing big songs, doing that. And I wanted just to focus only on business side. And I just wanted to start and do something where I would not be wanted to be personally involved in the operations, right? And then I discovered commercial cleaning business where actually it's monthly subscription business, which is awesome, right? And at the same time, I personally would not be one involved in writing songs, cleaning buildings, right? So I definitely know that I would not be personally wanted to do that. That's why I would be focusing on the business part. So that's kind of how I ended up here. It was a long journey, cleaning the buildings, by myself at the nights, as everyone did that, and just grinding and hustling and still just in the process of building the company. But yeah, my goal is just to build $5 million company where we would have the systems where sales process, delivery of the service would be provided to the client by excellent level. And I would not be involved in that at that point. If it hits all of that with 5 mil, I would be happy.
Well, those are pretty ambitious goals. And so, I mean, we can tell you're a hustler, right? Just with that intro to yourself. So I kind of want to touch base. So you said you moved here from Russia, right? When you were 21 years old?
Yeah. 21, I was with my brother, his wife. So we kind of decision made, I was forced by the war that started with Ukraine. So I was at the age where I would definitely go there. So kind of no choice,
Gotcha. So, I mean, being in music over there, was that your reasoning to come to LA because it's the music scene down there?
No, actually, not at all. Just because my brother before had been here a few times and he's we'll go to LA. I didn't even watch any video of LA. I'm I just refuse of doing that. I'm if he wants to go to LA, I would not say, oh, I'm going to Mississippi or whatever, right? I'm my brother's going to LA. I'm going to LA also.
Cool. So was it a culture shock to go from where you were at to a big city like LA?
That is a small city. I think the opposite thing, okay? Moscow is more like a New York City. So when you get here, everyone is so slow. They're so chill. And you're let's work.
Gotcha.
Why
Gotcha.
it's so slow? Yeah. So it's that feels like a smaller city though.
Okay. So I know a little bit about the story with your brother. So are you guys in business together? Is he working with you? How does that work out?
The one that you mentioned, and he lives in Colorado. This is another brother of mine. Sorry, I got
Gotcha.
you confused. With whom I moved, the brother, he lives here in Woodland Hills. He has different business. But the one who's in Colorado, he moved after we moved, after 6 or 8 months. And he was doing just random jobs, things like this. And I'm hey, just print the business cards, go door to door, you will find the buildings. He did that on his buildings, growing his business. But we kind of under one umbrella name, but it's two separate entities.
Gotcha. So how long have you guys been in business? How long have you, when you started? I mean, did you start, because it sounds like he's in Colorado?
Yeah, he's in Colorado. Yeah.
So did you guys start the business at the same time, and then he's in Colorado, you're in LA, and you're working it at the same time?
I would, to be honest, to say it's like just two separate businesses. Just want one name as of right now, But he started maybe like a year later than me. Like I started it, I moved and then I started, and then like he moved after, and it took him some time to start also. I've been doing that for 2.5 years right now.
2.5 years. Okay. So is this your full-time gig? Or are you working a daytime job and then hustling at night? Because there's a lot of new business owners that are kind of doing a little bit of both. So did you just jump in 100% and say, this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, almost. Like right now, I don't have any daytime job. I used to have when I would go door to door, and I used to do DoorDash a lot, right? So like just some kind of gigs where it's like helping in coffee shop doing coffee, just some delivery of the flowers and stuff like this. So it was a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, and I refused to do music anymore when I moved. So like I didn't have any gigs, like music gigs. Just wanted to kind of like cut it off.
Okay. So you jumped into this. It's just you, is it? Or do you have any employees?
I do have employees. We do have any employees and subcontractors. So since we were like kind of like going towards subcontracting more as of right now, I'm not sure what our headcount is, but with all the salespeople, with all the employees, with all the subcontractors and dead people, I would say that we are right now around like 25 people. It fluctuates from 20 to 25 people.
Oh, wow. So you're not a little company. You're actually rocking and rolling. You've got, yeah, no pun intended there with music, right? So I just want to touch, because you brought up a sales team. So you have a sales team that's kind of out there that's knocking on doors, or is it a VA system? What are you using? Because there's a lot of people that this is kind of a pain point where new business owners struggle. I get calls all the time and emails all the time, messages that, hey, Edwin, I need help finding my first customer. I need help getting leads. What can you do? So if you want to share, what's your deal with your sales team that you have?
The first that I would share, if you feel like it's impossible, you're not feeling alone, because I felt like it's impossible for a long period of time, right? So I was going door to door, and it's sometimes you find the leads, and the more you do that, the better. And then after you try like to do Google, Yelp, websites, you're just spending thousands of dollars on it, and it's just zero back, then it's really disappointing. And I've been unfortunate. And I was like, since I started, I was trying to do always something to generate the leads. So I would say that 2 years, it was like nothing. And I think that we cracked it just a bit, not like fully, but a bit, just a few months ago. Do you remember when I was like texting you, hey, we're having appointments, like these things? And as of right now, it's all VAs, it's all cold callers. I went this route just because of the business model, not because other things were not successful. I would say still bringing business in door to door, one of the best ways to do that and to grow that, even in my level. But like just the business model that we're choosing, that's why we're going to VAs.
So tell me a little bit about that, because there's a lot of business owners that may be looking at it or thinking about getting a VA. How did you go about finding the right company to work with? And then what does that all entail? Do they already know what to do when it comes to janitorial sales, or do you actually have to kind of train them, the way that you do things?
100%. Before I will dive in all of that, right? Because that would be a lot the things that I would I don't want to say is like things that I figured out. It's things that I took from a person and then implemented, and just all the way through to that. And I want to give heads up, Edwin was my mentor for already a year and helped me just tremendously. There's one guy from whom it's just different business models. My advice would be just choose one person and just copy that business, whatever you feel would be in the long term for you. So just door to door didn't feel for me door to door felt for me I can do that, it's doable, but I didn't want to build business on that. So I just chose to go that online. So what I want to say, and I know if you, especially when you're posting on Dayporter podcast, right? And you personally know that all that I got for the last 3 years that are now online selling, almost all of that just Peter Bolland just copied. So huge heads up to him. I know it's a kind of like, think like I'm with Edwin here. Edwin is the coach and he's my coach. But like, I just want to always like, say thank you to people from whom I learn both ways. So huge respect to both of them. When it comes to VAs and all the information that I would say, just want to say huge respect because for me, it was in some ways like, incredible journey also to learn, also to do all those things. But yeah, VAs, when it comes to finding them and all of that, do you want to dive in, Edwin?
Yeah, I
Do you
mean,
want to like dive in
people
there?
are going to want to know. I mean, we kind of wet the whistle here, and we told them a little bit about VAs because again, there's people that are listening to this that might be sitting on the bench and thinking, should I go that direction? I'm knocking on doors like Tim was. I wasn't having success. I've heard about VAs and I don't really know about it. So yeah, I mean, just kind of share your experience. I mean, we don't have to divulge everything, but just kind of how
I
you
mean, we
found.
can,
Well, I mean, the floor is yours, Tim, the floor is yours. And I know you love to talk about things. So, I mean, it's yours
Yeah.
if you want to
One on,
divulge a little bit.
no, one of the things like when it comes to VAs, cold calling, probably would the best be like just to understand the situation where you're at. There's nothing that you can like. I've watched a lot of podcasts. The way how I met Edwin, it's watching the podcast. And I do remember that time I was living in this apartment, sitting actually in this couch, watching this TV, watching this like in the evening, watching Edwin's podcast with somebody. It was somebody who was interviewing you, right? And I do remember, like, I used to date a girl, right? We used to live together. We're watching together a podcast, right? She's not into cleaning business, so I was just telling her the things that I like. So I'm watching this podcast, and I'm like, this guy has more workable energy than me. Like, what's going on? I'm 24 years old. At that time, I was 24 years old. And like, this guy sitting there, twice older than me, has more energy, and I could see it in his eyes. So huge respect. So I met him actually just going after that YouTube channel.
Just to interrupt you there, and I appreciate that, but you're basically calling me old, man. You're calling me
No,
old here.
man, I'm calling you respect. It's
No,
different.
I
It's
appreciate it.
respect.
I
How
truly
many
appreciate
guys
that.
who've done that and just somewhere like this? You could just like, relax and like, and be respectful with that. Be proud of that. But the guy's hustling. You could see it in his eyes. Like he's like, it's third part. If I can show it, he like we put Brian a call and he's like, yeah, it's like you would be number 3. I already done 9 podcasts. I'm like, what's going on? Like, he's insane, with that. So like after that, I just booked a session with you, right? And just from there it started. But like whatever amount of podcasts you watch, you wouldn't have the knowledge of that. Even if right now we would spend all the time just like, talking about VCs, how to do that. It's just not possible to find it from one podcast and like fully understand the situation. I do remember watching myself and I'm like, cold callers, what are they saying? What do they do? And it's kind of those puzzles. And you're like, why would never just tell honestly how to do everything? And then you just understand it's just not possible. It takes like at least like 150 hours to at least understand what's going on there. Like 150 hours like workable. So like how many podcasts should we record to explain everything in detail? So it's just not possible. However, with VAs, if you want to find somebody, make sure they have experience. Make sure they don't sound like a robot. Make sure they show up on time. Make sure they have good internet. And then make sure that your skills are actually twice, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times better than theirs. Make sure you are providing them the script. Make sure you have the systems to watch how often do they call, how many gaps do they have, are they energetic on the calls, do you do coaching sessions with them throughout the day? Is it just you giving them a shot and they work 5 days, they don't see you? Our guys see me every day, every morning on call. Then we have coaching with with each person like 3-4 times throughout the day. I watch the statistics, we watch everything. And as soon as you let the grip off, no money is there. No money, like you're getting no money out of it.
So let me ask you this, because a lot of VAs are not here in the US, right? They're international.
Yes.
I hear
Yes.
India, I hear Philippines, things like that. Is that where your VAs are?
Yeah. Yeah, Philippines.
And you really don't have any issues with the language barrier or anything like that. They all speak English and they're able to portray your message, no problem.
They speak English better than me. So like, no offense been taken, their accent better than me. They understand culture more than me. So like, it's definitely not about understanding the barrier. They definitely sometimes just, maybe because they watch the old movies and things like this, they would use like the terms as sir, like, and things like this that's kind of like off a bit for American culture nowadays. So maybe they're like not just really updated in terms of that, but the language is definitely there.
Gotcha. Well, that's great. So if you're a business owner listening to this and you're hearing what Tim is saying and you're looking for a VA, I'll put all of Tim's contact information in the show links that you can link up with him if you want a session or 2 sessions or 9, 10 sessions with him to discuss, how to go about a VA. So Tim,
I would give us like just
yeah.
So like I know that it's not possible to do that in one podcast or something. That's why I don't do podcasts, but what I started to do, I started to just film my life and my workable life. I just do every week till we hit 5 mil. Okay. I will shoot you the YouTube channel that I'm posting that on. I'm not as frequent as you are with that, not as consistent, but I'm striving there. Okay?
There you go. There you go. There you go. Well, hey, Tim, let's talk about this. So you've got the VAs, and so you've got this goal to get to $5 million and to kind of let all you're putting together processes and your strategies to kind of let other people handle that for you. When it comes to competition, because LA, again, it's not as big as Moscow, right? I just learned that, but it still is a very big city. I mean, where I'm at, it's 50,000 people, right? So I'm not in a big market, and you're in a market that's close to 4 million people. And so with that many people, that means there's probably a ton of competition, right?
Competition.
So besides VAs, what are you doing with your business, with your company to stand out from the competition? What are you doing differently than your competition?
So basically, I would say that really unfortunate to say, but this is just a number game. I know that I watched Jeremy Miners, right? Like, who's really great at sales. So he's like, hey, it's not a numbers game. It's a skills game. But when you're in big cities, it's a skills game and a numbers game. So
Sure.
it's like both. So it's like, if you go into just 2 appointments, how great you are, how many services you offer, it's just not gonna happen. It's just the volume that really makes sense of that. When you're doing a lot of value, my brother is in Colorado, right? He has a smaller business, so every appointment that he goes, he's like, really worth it. He's like, how much time I would spend there personally. So when it's like just once a week, he give him huge price. My prices would be here in Los Angeles, $250 cheaper, just because for me, it's like, I know how to handle that with not a lot of efforts for me, so I can give a cheaper price, right? I can
Sure.
cut me so. And when you start it, if you're worth yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm different and I'm doing a great service, people just don't need that. In markets like this, where competitiveness, how great you are, what kind of chemicals you use, it all doesn't matter. Most of decisions that are being made in our industry are being made not by decision makers directly, but through the influencer. So however great you are, if on the paper you look just more expensive than others, it's just not going to work in cities like this.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so we're learning how to compete in the big city. So I get it. Thanks for sharing that. So listen, Tim, that's going to lead us into our first segment, and this segment I like to call the live sales role play. This part of the show, we're going to put your sales skills to the test. Okay, so we're going to put you on the spot. But before
I had zero preparation, just so you know.
No, okay. Hey, most people don't, but these are just common scenarios, common objections that you're going to run into when you go into a lot of these places if you're door knocking, right? And that's what a lot of brand new business owners are doing. They need to go in person. They're the face of the business. They're the ones that are going to be able to sell their business the best. So they got to walk in, and then the customer is going to say something. The potential customer is going to have a question, and you need to be able to think on your feet and answer it. But before we jump into it, I just want to thank everybody that subscribed. If you haven't yet, please do so, because the support has just been truly amazing for the first couple of episodes. And, we're not big time yet, but we're getting there, because we have a sponsor now. And see, Tim's taking selfies over here, but we have a sponsor now. So this segment of the show is brought to you by Scott Growth Strategies. If you're ready to stop blending in and start standing out, their team will level up your marketing game. From killer email campaigns to boosting your overall business performance, check them out at scottgrowthstrategies.com and let the pros take your brand to the next level. There you go. Well, hey, let's get into this, Tim. So I'm going to ask you a question again. It's just a common sales objection, and I just want to see how Tim would handle this. So let
Sure.
me know. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. Let's go for it.
All right, let's do it. So, Tim, you have a potential customer that's on the verge of signing your proposal, but
Yep.
they hit you with this question. They say, "How do I know that your cleaners are trustworthy?" So, walk me through what you would say to that potential client when they ask you that. How do I know your cleaners are
Let's
trustworthy?
have a quick role play though, right? It doesn't mean that I need to say one thing that flips everything over, right?
Sure.
We can just have a walk through. When you say though that like you want to really understand that our cleaners would be trustworthy, may I ask, what do you actually mean?
Oh yeah. Well, hey Tim, I'm going to give you the keys to my car dealership here, and I've got Mercedes, I got G wagons, I got everything here, man. I need to know that I can trust your employees. I don't want your guys stealing one of my cars. So how can I trust you? How can I trust you, Tim?
100%. When you say though that the case, like, and the cars, I totally understand the value. However, just in case we do have all the, like, general liability is 1 mil, umbrella is 3 mil, right? All those insurances were bonded, right? So here, like, with everything, we really keep your peace in mind. But at the same time, let me ask you, when you're kind of looking into it, like, did you had some like bad experience with that, or what is the background behind that? What is the story behind that?
Yeah, Tim, I've had a couple cars stolen from me, and I've had some
Oh,
cleaning companies who they just didn't care, right? And it was a new cleaner all the time. So if I'm going to sign this contract with you, it's a big dollar amount. I just want to make sure that I can trust your company and trust your employees that you're going to put in here.
100%. No, and if I would be in your place, I would want to actually ask the same question and believe that cleaners would be trustworthy, right? Here we're like dealing with the real world. As much as you can put like our company have background checks, right? We interviewing everyone like so precisely and doing everything our best, but things happening in life. Can I really, say to you, hey, 100% it's not gonna happen? If anybody from salespeople would say to you, that would definitely just lie to your face, and I don't want to be a liar. So what do you think really was a difference between companies who didn't steal the cars from you and companies who did? What do you think, what was the main difference?
Tim, your questions are right on, and I think you hit it on what you were saying with background checks, right? I mean that's kind of that's a pain point that I think a lot of potential customers want to hear, that you're actually doing background checks. Because I can tell you, especially in a big city and even a small area like mine, the small mom and pop companies, they probably don't do background checks, right? And it's a mom and pop, so it's a husband, wife, or a family that's actually doing the cleaning, right? And a lot of them, they just don't know what to say when you get to that point. And so what you're bringing up is perfect. So background checks, another thing that's always a good hit piece to tell a potential customer is just the longevity of your employees, right? Like, you follow me on LinkedIn, I talk about my employees all
Yeah.
the time. We celebrate the anniversary. So 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 8 year, whatever it is. And so that's one thing we say. We say, go ahead and check out our social medias. Go ahead and check out our websites. You're going to see, here's Alex. He's been with the company 5 years. This is probably going to be the person that you're going to see in your facility. And then it builds that trust with them. And so,
So, but you are the older company, so you can say stuff like this.
right.
But like would not gonna work like with a smaller company. So what I usually like, when somebody asks me a question like this or like others, what I'm trying to hit at, I'm trying to actually like erase the competition by saying like if somebody would tell it to you that it's not gonna happen, they would be just liars straight to your face.
Oh, sure.
That way,
No,
if
gotcha.
most of the people would say like, hey, we actually have this, that, and that, he would like think, oh, they actually told me that, and they probably lied to me, and I didn't catch it. So I would try to like, erase the competition with this like kind of way.
Sure. Absolutely. Good. No, that was good. That was good. Thanks for playing the
Whew.
game, huh?
That was that, man. I got like, a red.
Put you on the spot. But again, that's what it's like. So a lot of the new business owners that are listening to this podcast, you're going to get put in these situations. And again, like I said earlier, you have to think on your feet and be able to answer it, be concise, be professional, but always just have something that you're able to tell them. So no, that's good. And that's what the
What they actually mean is one of the best, really, like, rebuttals that you can say. They're like, why are you different? What makes you different? And you're like, what do you mean? Like, I want to have a, like, cleaning company. Like, why should I choose you? Like, so you want to choose a cleaning company who would be different or who would be doing a great job to you, just so I would understand. So, and you kind of like, just taking it off the table. Like, the question, you're like reforming that in what you want to say to them and you want them to understand.
Sure, absolutely. No, that's good. So to kind of keep it going, we were kind of talking about your business, and you're dabbling in VAs, and you've got this goal of getting to 5 million. So obviously you can't really get to 5 million, or you could, but it's going to take a longer time if you're just offering janitorial services. So do you offer any other type of services like carpet cleaning, stripping and waxing, window cleaning, pressure washing? Do you offer any of those other types of specialty services?
So we would try to hit that without actually like doing that as a one-time clean. We would do that only if the client is signing in with janitorial contract. So no separate stripping, waxing, or carpet cleaning.
So you offer it if they are a customer.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then do you sub out that work? Because you mentioned you have subcontractors, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So I want to talk a little bit more about standing out from the competition, more specifically marketing, right? So in terms of marketing your business, are you active? Are you using social media? I know you're using the virtual assistants to make the sales calls for you, but how else are you getting your name out about the business? Is it social media? I know I see you from time to time on LinkedIn, but are you using any other platforms to really push the message out of who you are?
No, even LinkedIn, to be honest, stopped just to keep my focus on our virtual assistants and cold callers, since they're the most, for me personally, they just reaching out most of the people and like decision makers. And if we call marketing, if the name is like by get a hold of and offering our services to the person who have the potential to buy it, then for me, that was like the most effective and the most like I'm focusing on. The others, not that important for me for right now.
Gotcha. Okay. So kind of back to our live sales role play. Let's say you answered that question perfectly, and the potential customer says, you know what, Tim, I'm going to sign the dotted line. Let's do this. Let's get started. So obviously in a competitive market, the other piece, and especially for new business owners, the big pain point is coming up with the price. And so there's by the square foot, there's by the hours, there's a combination of both. So how are you? How is Tim coming up with pricing? How, you don't have to divulge all your secrets, but how are you coming up with the competitive price?
I want to be upfront here and honest. So I could tell how I was doing that when it was a bigger buildings, right? Because since right now we're focusing on the smaller ones, and since I'm focusing on the smaller ones, I'm just using the course calculator. So nothing that I'm coming up with.
The which calculator are you using?
The course calculator, the Peters calculator.
Okay.
They're like, and that's how. Like right now, I have zero, like of coming up with the prices and things like this. Before I would record a video and I would see like how much time does it take for me to clean. I was not really into cleaning for that long period of time, so I would send it to the manager or the cleaner, and like my brother who's like cleans more, and I was like, hey, how much time would it take to clean? And then kind of go to blueprint calculator and just calculate with like profits, like wages, work comp, general liability, taxes, all that, and give the price out.
So the calculator that you're using right now, it's helping you out to figure out the taxes, your overhead, your profit percentage, and everything.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you fully understand all that. But what I'm trying to get at is if you do get a customer that says, let's do this, they do a walkthrough with you, what do you plug into that calculator? Are you plugging in let's say it's a 10,000 square foot building. Are you plugging in the square footage of it to come up with how long it's going to take?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
Right now, yeah. Before I used to would just go watch a video, how much time, taxes, work comp, GL, profit, and that's all.
So in the beginning, because I know, especially with me, it was tough in the beginning coming up with the cleaning times. Did you ever underbid an account where, let's say you bid it at 4 hours and then it ends up taking 5 or 6 hours and you end up running into the red in your profit?
For the most part, I have a problem of overbidding the property. So I have only one property where underbid, though they have 2 buildings, and another one I overbid. So I gotta go even there. So really not a lot. I think it's really, really, really hard to lower bids. I think it's really hard.
Well, you would think, but in a very competitive market, again, I'm not as big as LA, but even in the market I'm in, I've had people undercut the bid just to get it. And I know that there's a lot of national companies that'll do that too, because they're subcontracting, and that ends up pushing you and me out of the possibility of getting this account or that account or those accounts, because they're a national powerhouse and they can just flex their muscles and drop their bid X amount of money. And then we don't have an opportunity there. So, but yeah, it's more common, especially now that it's a very competitive market, that people will underbid it. But again, this just goes back to being able to answer the questions, being able to identify the pain points to make yourself be that trusted advisor that your potential customer can sign on with. So that's good. So once you figured out the pricing, how do you go about putting together a professional proposal, right? Because that's going to be the next step. You've done the walkthrough. They've said, Tim, let's do the walkthrough. You do it. Then you put pencil to paper, or you put your fingers to the calculator, you figure out the numbers. Now, what do you do for proposal? Like, do you use a software system, or do you have your own proposal templates that you've made yourself?
We have our own templates. I just asked designers that I knew. We kind of built that. That's pretty all usual terms and agreements. Some kind of like, we have bubbles. So like all of that. Pretty much like, designed for like, it looks like it's a huge corporation, basically.
and I always say stuff, even if you're little, try to make yourself seem bigger than you actually are, because that's going to help you as well. That's another tip that's going to help you stand out a little bit in the market. What about the scope of work? Now, obviously you do the walkthrough, the person that you're doing the walkthrough with, whether it be the facilities manager or the owner of the facility you're walking with, they're telling you what they want done. Are you putting that together in a detailed scope of work that you're presenting with the proposal?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when it's like, a physical walkthrough, I would usually like, rewatching the video, just do ChatGPT, audio chat, you start talking with him and you're like, yeah, the floor's got to be mopped, vacuumed, here, it's got to be 1 week, and you just telling everything from the video, it's putting the proposal to you, just in the moments you put it there, that's all. You're calling to a client, you're like, hey.
So your system that you have, because obviously I use software systems, Cinch janitorial software. If you're not signed up, sign up at cleancinch.com. But I use it to simplify the process, not just for me, but for my sales crew. So do you find that it takes you a long time to put together a proposal? Because I remember in the beginning, and I still have binders over here of calculations handwritten that I put together and scopes of work before I discovered that, hey, there's janitorial specific software that I can do this and it'll make it easier, so that I can rep out numerous bids in a day opposed to doing one a day, because I'm trying to figure things out. But do you have a simplified process on what you're doing on that?
Basically right now, so like we've changed from going on physical walkthroughs to like doing that through presentations. So basically when I'm on a call right now with a client, we would build a custom checklist with them on a call with them. So like that's just there while we're going through. And I will send the proposal them by the end of the call. So they would open it like with me on a call. So right now it's just a bit different. I would not say that it takes a lot of time, because they're doing, not me doing that. So they're involved in like, building that. It's like their art. So like right now this problem is just dissolved. Other things other than scope of work, everything just template. You put the information from the CRM and it just goes there.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Well, Tim, again, I know you, I don't know a whole lot about you, but we want to get to know you a little bit more, especially the viewers and the listeners here. So this part of the show I like to call After Hours Confessions. And so this is your opportunity to share a story about yourself or your business that maybe it's a story that's never been heard, or maybe you have a hidden talent that nobody knows about. You willing to share something with us?
So basically, it's just like to show off, right? Like you gotta show off.
This is your platform. Right? You let's do it.
Okay. So if to show off, right? Like you guys know that I was the songwriter, but it's different types of songwriters. The biggest song that I wrote on YouTube, it's 250 million views.
215 million views?
And 250.
Wow, 250. So, can you somehow tap into that and we can get 250 million views on this podcast?
Unfortunately.
You know what? That's amazing. And so is it a song that you wrote? Is it something back in Russia, or is it something that's here in the States?
I don't know. It's something back in Russia that I wrote.
Is there a YouTube link or something that we can put in the show notes to get access to that?
I can definitely see it's like, by the just to prove that I'm right, it's by the bottom of the video.
I 100% believe you. I want
It
to
will
see
say
it and see
Dotsenko
your
to my day.
250 million views, right? That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's just crazy. So, so I want to ask you because you've been in this for what, 2.5 years now. You've been in business.
Yeah.
Have you ever received any advice from someone and that advice has stuck out to you and has maybe helped you along your business journey?
I think I've received tons of advices that really struck me out. If
Anything
just
in
to
particular that just kind of sticks out to you?
I think that the most particular one, it would be just it would be a small story where like I would just say, hey, like I've been doing it. I would be feeling like I'm doing business when I would be going door to door. At the same time, not creating the systems, not creating the really future for myself. Even if you hire then a salesperson, if you didn't create a script while you were going through door to door, like then what did you actually do this time? You were doing sales, you were a salesperson, but you were not the business owner. So just to copy one system, choose the guy that you like and choose the system that you're like, heart responds to, and just do not do anything else. Do just only that. Yeah, and that's all. And do that for like 2 years straight. And if that didn't happen in 2 years, first, I don't believe. And and second one, then you have a possibility to change that,
So basically emulate somebody that is on a path that you want to be on is what you want to do.
Do not be a business owner when you're starting. Be a student.
No. And I've been in this for close to 20 years. I'm still a student. I'm still learning. I'm still soaking in all this information. So this is good. I mean, I'm learning stuff from you. I'm learning stuff from all the guests that are on the show and the listeners, the viewers, they're learning from everybody that's on here as well. So I like that advice. That's good. Hey, I want to talk about too, because you and me, we text back and forth here and there, and not too long ago, maybe it was a month, maybe 2 months ago, you text me, you were taking selfies here on this podcast earlier, but you took a selfie, but you took it with your employees with you, and you looked like an employee meeting. So are you doing a lot of stuff with your employees to kind of create some type of company culture within your business?
That is just the powerful thing. It was so great actually to do that. That was advice followed by you, just to do a monthly meeting. We did it once, we didn't do it second time. But I want to be upfront here. We didn't do that just because we're switching to subcontractors. And like, I'm the guy who only have like, one focus in life and nothing else. So I'm very polarized. So we stopped doing that just because we would not be hiring any more employees. But, if I would be going employee route, which a lot of guys do it very successfully, right? I know people whose business bigger than mine and they're based only on employees, and if you do that route, do a monthly meet with employees, it's so great. They've been talking between themselves and I'm like, wow, I don't need to hold a conversation. That was shocking.
That's the power of it, right? You get them together because they don't see each other on a nightly basis, or not all of them. And so they get together. It's like, oh, you work with Tim too. Oh, okay. Yeah. And it starts to build that culture. So that was cool that you text me that. And it was just cool to see that, because you had a big smile on your face, and every single employee behind you, they had a big smile on their face too. And I don't know what you did. Maybe you took them out to lunch or to coffee or something like that, but they were in good spirits. So that's, kudos to you, because there's a lot of business owners even now, and even the bigger businesses, that don't take the time to appreciate their employees. And that just goes back to the question of, why should we trust your employees? Why should we trust you? Well, because these employees have been with me for a long time. These employees are, they're valuable to my company, and this is why. And so, yeah, I mean, you're building something without even knowing it. I think that you're creating this culture that they enjoy, they like. And just from that picture itself, that tells me a lot about you and about your employees. So that's awesome. And it made me feel good. It made me feel good to get that picture. But speaking of that too, when you and we started talking about subcontractors, and you sent me a video too, after you walked out of the place, after you had hired a subcontractor, you were kind of on the fence of whether you should do it or not, and you did it. So tell me about that experience, because you sent me that video and it was like the greatest thing in the world to you.
That was the greatest thing in the world to me. It didn't look like, how would I say? it looked like it was the greatest thing, and it was the greatest thing in the world to me. Okay, so it was both ways. I was so confused with legality of that and do that like you don't buy the book. I've met people here in California who's like, no, if you would do that, you would be just sued and you would never come back, like, da da da. And then like you have people who's doing only that, and you see them doing that for 30 years straight, and their business is just huge. And they're like, yeah, you just gotta know how to do. You just gotta know the legal stuff and like do not cross the line. And you're like, if you just keep asking like, hey, and how to not cross the line, then you kind of like get in there, and that's all. So like, yeah, it took me a really long time and courage to start switching. And we started just with one like, new account, and I'm like, okay, only new stuff. Right now, even the old stuff that I was signing, it's like, going there. If we have an employee leaving or something, I would just put a subcontractor there, not even worry about it. I mean, you've had some worries, but as soon as you like kind of understand what's the process of figuring out, like, that they're like great at what they're doing, like, checking the references, like, when you handing the keys, do that first, like, with a small account, just see what kind of people it is, like, the conversation. It's basically like, it's the energy of that, right? So you kind of go and you're showing the walkthrough, this is the building, maybe like, next morning, right? You just wake up earlier before the building opens. You go there and you see if the details were missed or not, like, and you kind of see if they were really detailed or not. And you just keep like, checking in. We have right now a manager who like, checks the buildings at the night or in the morning. So like, and then you see the reports and you're like, okay, they're doing great.
So are you leaning more towards subcontracting now?
We have right now, so we started with one small building. We have right now 35% of our revenue, 35 to 40% of our revenue is subcontracted. And we would, I think like in 2 years, it will be 100%.
No, and that's good. And for business owners that are listening to this, because I actually spoke to somebody today, and they were just starting their business and they were working a 9 to 5 and they were struggling. And so we started to talk about having subcontractors, and that's just like throwing fuel on your fire. So, well, I don't have any accounts yet. So when do I hire subcontractors? And I said, now. Start getting people in your dugout, get them lined up so that when you do get something, you're proactive, you're not reactive, and then you can call on that subcontractor to take that over, right?
100%.
But that
it's not like employers, right? Employee, you have like an interview, and then if you didn't hire a person, if you would call to this person after 2 weeks, they're like, I had a job already, right? Mm-hmm. With the subcontractor, they're like, they always need more job. They're like,
they're hungry.
Sure, 100. Like,
they're hungry.
After a year, they're like, definitely.
Yeah, because we mentioned mom and pops, and there's a lot of mom and pops, especially in where you're at in LA. And so they don't know how to sell, but they know how to clean. And so they will feed off of you to continue to give them work, and they're going to be loyal to you. So in a sense, it's almost like an employee. There is that red tape there because they are subcontractors, but I know, right? The legalities there. But I mean, once you can find them, there's trial and error, but once you find them, it's almost a breath of fresh air because they're taking care of that work. And then the plus side of it too is, when you do a startup, you got to get a backpack vacuum, you got to get a mop bucket, you got to get all the chemicals, uniforms, everything. And that could equate to $800 to $1,000 for one account. When you have a subcontractor, that's on them to provide all the equipment. So that's a cost savings right there for you. So it's going to help you get to that 5 million goal that you have a lot quicker, right? 100%. Using subcontractors.
100%. Oh man, I think what it is. It was supposed to do 40 minutes, right?
We're good.
Don't such a great conversation, man. You're
That's
like, okay, I'll let this guy.
No, I enjoy talking to you, man. And your smile is infectious. So when I bring up those photos that you sent me in the video, you're always smiling, and that just gets me, it just gets me motivated. Like I just want to talk to you and see what Tim is up to. But yeah,
and so huge help would interrupt. So huge help for like from you. From mentoring, from just like, giving the motivation that it can be done. You have been the person whom you can get a hold of, asking the stupid questions and understanding that, okay, that actually can be done. I was out when I met you. Like but here's the business. I was in a different room. Okay, so
Well,
but
Tim,
then
Tim, there's no stupid questions, right? They're just questions because you're frustrated, you're stuck on something, you just need guidance. That's all it is.
yeah, 100%.
So listen, before we wrap this up, I've got one last segment, one last game to play with you. And I like to call this one rapid fire roulette. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you 5 questions and you're going to get 3 seconds just to give me a quick answer. These are simple questions. You're just going to give
Are
me
they
a
the
quick...
same throughout episodes?
Oh no, they're all different. They're all
Oh
different.
my God. Well, when you had an episode with your son, you asked like, hey, what's your favorite cleaning tool? And I'm like, I know myself. I'm like, I don't have a favorite cleaning tool. I don't like them.
Well, maybe I'll throw that in there as a bonus question. No, but you, Tim, you tell me when you're ready and we'll get this game started. Okay. Email or text?
Next.
Invoice or proposals?
Invoices.
Dodgers or Lakers?
Don't care.
Don't care. Okay. Late night tacos or early morning coffee?
Early morning.
Early morning coffee. Okay. Toilet bowl cleaner or Fabuloso?
Fabuloso for sure.
Fabuloso. Okay. All right. There we go. And then what's your favorite cleaning tool? No, that's just the one. No, Tim, I appreciate you playing. What I want to ask you though is 5 years from now, do you still see yourself in this industry? Do you see yourself hitting your goal in that next 5 years and then just crushing it in the commercial cleaning industry?
We'll see. I would say no, to be honest. I would say if I hit 5 or 10 mil, I would probably sell it out. And probably in a bit different industry, but this industry is the best to build the skill set. It's really one of the best to build the skill set that you need for really grow in the business.
Yeah, it teaches you a lot and people don't think about it. And, I've said this before, the commercial cleaning industry is a $90 billion a year industry. So all you need is a small piece of that pie, right? And then, like you said, if you get to a certain amount and you want to sell it, you can sell it and then you're off to your next venture, right? And you're still young compared to me. You called me old earlier. You're still young. So there's a lot that you can still do.
Older.
Well, hey, Tim, before we go.
You can do more pull-ups than me. So please don't start that.
Well, maybe we'll see. We'll have to have a challenge there, right? So, Tim, there's a lot of new business owners that are listening to this show. And, they love hearing advice. And you've shared a lot of great stuff with us today. But would you have any advice that you could share with the new listeners, the new business owners? Any advice, along this journey being a new commercial cleaning business owner?
Don't trust yourself on sales. If you think that every time you can come up with objection handling or like introduction or pitches, and every time it would be perfect just out of your hand, it's delusional. Build yourself a script and follow the script 100%.
No, that's great advice. Just sticking to the plan and being consistent, because consistency is going to win, right? I think I said it before, but consistency is really what makes you money. The more consistent you are, you're just keeping things even keel and you're going to be on the right path. So no, I appreciate that. And Tim, I appreciate you being a guest on the show. I've been wanting to get you on. So just amazing to have you. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Legendary. Thank you a lot.
Legendary. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen to another episode of Built After Hours. Tim dropped a lot of good advice that I know a lot of you can learn from. So I hope that you took notes throughout this episode. But join me next week for our next guest. He's out of Fort Myers, Florida. And 2 years ago, he bet on himself and the cleaning industry. And he's even an ambassador for a cleaning product line. So this is going to be a very interesting conversation. So you don't want to miss this one. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and I'll catch you on the next one.